My brother, if I can write a chapter, I need somebody out there that can hear me. He has got to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, let's
I don't
do it.
understand what's going
Yes.
on. We got to fix this, man. Like seriously,
Yeah, we're working
we
on it.
got to fix. So I want to talk about it, and I want to be a billboard about it. Something has to happen immediately. I was able to pay her house off and provide for her in terms of like, hey, you don't have to have a mortgage payment anymore, and do some things for her. So in her latter days, man, that's what the NFL did for me. And I think it's all because of those angels that lined up. Me meeting Priest, me meeting Ray, me meeting, Priest mentioned Eric Rhett. Eric Rhett was the mouth of the South that talked.
That's right.
And you remember Rhett, Priest.
That's
I
right.
mean, he'll talk you up, so you gotta go in there and make some stuff happen.
Yeah, give me the keys to the kingdom, 'cause I came, I saw, I conquered it all. Conquer.
Guess who's back? Back again. That's right. The home stretch is back. Priest, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh man, Mark, this is the time of the year I can't wait for. So I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, I'm excellent, man. We're on the other side of the Christmas holiday, and we've just celebrated New Year's, so we're in full recovery mode. I feel like everyone should just get off Jan 1 through Jan 7. You know what I'm saying? Let's just scrub that from the calendar. Let's go right to Jan 8. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it. We're here.
Yeah, let's get some signatures on that. Can we do that? Well, here we are. It's just after New Year's, and it's week 18 in the National Football League. That's it. It's the final week, and there's only 2 playoff spots up for grab, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But first, I got to talk to you about New Year's, Priest, because is this a big deal to you? Are you a big New Year's guy? Did you ever care about New Year's, or did it change when you got older and you have different feelings about it now that you're a dad?
No, I think for the most part, even when I go back as a teenager, it was always something that was pretty simple but very intentional. I can go back as far as knowing that on that day, the same way that I do with my kids now, is we got to get those Welch's grape kind of sparkling cider drinks put together, man, with the kids are toasting with
Okay.
me. That's kind of like a requirement, in order to bring it in. But for the
Sure.
most part, definitely you could see me just at the house with the kids, sneaking out, lighting up the streets with some fireworks, and then running back inside.
Oh, fireworks on New
Oh
Year's.
yeah, the
Let's
fireworks gotta go
go.
down, of course, and so but for the most part, I don't think it's anything better than bringing in the new year surrounded by the people that you love, So I think being around family is very important, and in terms of celebrating, there's a number of ways. There's been one, Mark, I can tell you, there's a place called Perry's Steakhouse. It's right next to Six
Okay.
Flags. You could just imagine
Okay.
all of the family just barreling into the SUV, rolling over, and we're spending New Year's in a parking lot watching fireworks over Fiesta, Texas. You know what I mean? So we've celebrated it to that fashion. And then I've celebrated to myself where there's nothing better to bring in the New Year's in a hot tub. Man, toasting, in just a warm, warm hot tub, man. So that's one of the things that I would say has been something near and dear to me when it comes to this time.
All right. Fireworks, outside, hot tub. These Christmas lights in your SUV still kicking on
Man, that's a
during this time
must.
too?
Yeah, I told you about that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Yukon
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
lit up. It's called, at this time back, obviously in December, it was Papa's
Yeah.
sled. All the gifts were brought in during that time. But we run the lights a little bit into obviously the new year, and then at some point they got to
Sure.
come down.
Yeah, yeah. So at some point, that's very cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you the most random place you ever spent New Year's. I can tell you this. So I've been very lucky. My mother-in-law lives down in Orlando, Florida, where I'm at right now. So I have a little bit of a different background than normal. Also, my kid made me shave, so I don't look like I normally do. But one year we were bouncing around. Like sometimes we'd celebrate New Year's at a restaurant, or sometimes we'd celebrate at one of the theme parks they have down here. Well, we got caught trying to travel back and forth between some of these parks and trying to find a landing spot, and we ended up just celebrating New Year's at a bus stop
Okay.
one year. We were just like, fireworks were popping off. We're like, oh my God, what time is it? Oh, it's midnight. Happy New Year's, everybody. We're at a bus stop. So it wasn't what we planned on doing, but to your point, we were with friends and family, and that's all that mattered. And so that one sticks out in my mind as being a pretty random New Year's Eve celebration at a bus stop in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
But
How about celebrating outside of the country, Mark? Now, I would love to imagine myself on a nice cruise. I can imagine myself as the fireworks are getting
okay,
ready to go off. You'd find me still trying to creep and find the best hot tub, man. Jump in that bad boy all by myself and with a group of people
so
that I'm
funny.
with, if possible, man. And then just be on the middle of the ocean, man, in a hot tub, man. I think that would be pretty cool as well.
That sounds good to me. I second that. I second that. The last place I want to be is in my home city of New York City in Times Square. I don't know how people are doing that, cramming up there for 12 hours. I don't know where the bathrooms are. You don't know any of these people, and it's freezing. It feels like 2 degrees out there. I don't know why people are still doing that, but they do.
Yeah.
And if that's how they want to
Well, so let me ask
celebrate,
you this. So how does
kudos
that
to them.
happen? Because I'm thinking of myself being out in NYC for New Year's, and I'm
Mhm.
saying, man, I'm thinking about between anxiety, between sensory overload. I mean, my head about to
Yeah.
explode. I
Yeah.
mean, how does that many people go down to Times Square? I mean, it's one thing that for my entire life I've seen it on TV, and that's part of the celebration as well for New Year's is that if you're not in on the East Coast, and of course you're on any other coast, well, more than likely, obviously, it's going to take place an hour earlier or 2 hours earlier. So, you try to get in there
Right.
and watch and do as much as you can, but watching Times Square and seeing all the excitement that happens there and all the different concerts, I mean, I've been brought up watching that as well. So that's pretty historic as well. But I don't know in terms of gathering that many people in the downtown area. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, yeah. There's two types of people that are down there in Times Square for New Year's. Tourists and the people working the event. That's it. If you're working it or performing, you're there. If you're a tourist, you're there. Everybody else, no bueno. They're out of there. They're not doing it. Yeah, it is pretty wild. But look, it's a historic thing. Everyone obviously pays attention to it. And come to think of it, I've never celebrated New Year's outside the Eastern time zone. So I don't know what it's like to see the ball drop and not have it actually be midnight at the same time. So for you, where you're an hour behind, yeah, I don't know what that's like. I don't know. It's like, oh, okay, New York City popping off, we're all good, and everybody's like, hey, it's 11:05
That's right. We're
now.
still waiting.
It seems, yeah, you're still waiting. Yeah, never had that experience. One more question before we get to these playoff scenarios in Week 18 is, are you a New Year's resolution guy? Do you or like, does that calendar flip over? Is that significant for you where you set some new goals, or do you just have the same goals and it doesn't matter what time of the year it starts?
No, I think resolutions make a big difference. I think that's what kind of gets people going. It's kind of like that motivating factor. It's that spark that gets people going into the new year, saying that they're going to challenge themselves with all these goals and trying to be, a certain type of person, being better in their spirituality, being better physically, improving their health.
Mhm.
But for me, I think just always praying and asking for protection over the safety of my family and myself and my loved ones and my friends like you, Mark, and your family, I think that's what my biggest goal is. And so I wouldn't call it necessarily a resolution, but in the same time, I think that carpe diem, man, you got to seize the moment. And if you're waiting on that
Mhm.
resolution, man, you might be waiting for a long time. You got to get off that couch and get going.
That's true. I've been waiting on that resolution to win the lottery, and it's still yet to come to fruition, pre. So, no, I'm with you, man. I never was a big New Year's person, just in general. I like the idea of it's an easy way to do a reset, but when you do grow up in like the northeastern part of the country and it's freezing outside, it's tough to like get those goals cooking right away because you're too busy trying to stay warm. So you're like, I'm not gonna go outside and go running yet. So it's hard to get it started right away. But yeah, I was never a big resolution guy, not really even a big New Year's guy. But it is 2026, Priest. We're here. We did it. And the home stretch is in full effect. We're over the halfway point through season 1, and I'm gonna set some resolutions for us. We're gonna get some bigger, some awesome guests the second half of this season, and we're gonna celebrate with all of our fans and all of our listeners out there. It's gonna be an awesome second half of the season for the home stretch. That's my
Oh, I
resolution.
like that one, Mark. I like that one a lot, man. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Sign up, place a bet for $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, player props, futures, and so much more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Hey, do you have a gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. Or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 21 plus only, 18 plus in Kentucky. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, and select parishes in Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. $10 minimum deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only. All right, Priest. It's never ordinary with Bet365. We know that. We love them. We thank them letting us do our thing. And look, we've got a massive, massive Week 18 coming up here in the National Football League. There's only 2 playoff spots available, one in the AFC, one in the NFC. And these 4 teams, that's right, there's only 4 teams that can lock up these spots. They're not making it easy on themselves. And we'll dive into that in just a second. But the teams that are already in the AFC, the Denver Broncos, New England Patriots, Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Buffalo Bills. They've all secured a spot. They're heading to the playoffs. The NFC, Seattle Seahawks, Chicago Bears, Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers, Los Angeles Rams, and the Green Bay Packers. But the teams in the hunt, teams on the bubble, if there is still a bubble left, because it all comes down to Week 18. And wouldn't you know it, Priest, the 4 teams that have a shot to still make the playoffs, they all have to play each other.
Yes.
It's like you couldn't write this ending, right? So let's start with the AFC. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers are at home here. And look, the Ravens, we don't know who's going to be taking care of the ball in the QB position at the time of this taping. Could be Lamar Jackson, could be Huntley, who had a decent game last week and a big win over Green Bay in Green Bay. But they're keeping it close to the vest there in Baltimore. But the Steelers are at home, and they do have a nice veteran there in the quarterback position with Aaron Rodgers. So let's talk about this matchup. Steelers, Ravens. This game is on Sunday night. What do you think is going to happen? Lamar Jackson, is he going to play? You feeling it?
As much as I would like to see, I think Lamar has an opportunity to kind of redeem himself from, how this season has transpired to how he's gotten to this point at the very final game. I'd like to see Lamar. I don't think Huntley can close out, the season with a win. So, I think Lamar would be the go-to guy.
Okay, so Huntley, 16 for 20. 107 yards, not that many yards, 1 touchdown, but a QB rating of 105.6 against the Green Bay Packers, minus Micah Parsons, but in Green Bay. That's a pretty good job off the bench, and he even had 8 carries for 60 yards. But it was the Derrick Henry show, 216 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, look, if you're going backup quarterback, you go to the running game, and they did. And, man, is he still good. Is he the X factor in this game for the Ravens? Is this Derrick Henry or bust, whether Lamar Jackson's playing or not?
Well, I think, with Derrick Henry showing up on the stat board, and I think for all the fantasy fans out there that divvied up and got all those points because of his performance, I think that he fared very well. I think he is the X factor. I think it's also, again, between Lamar, Henry, they have an opportunity to really redeem themselves because the mid-season just kind of went awry. There were lots of losses early on. And so, you get to this point where you have a point where you can kind of control your destiny. I think this is where these guys that have that type of caliber of play, I think they step up and they bring it home with a win.
And, speak from your perspective, having, unfortunately acquired some injuries during your play. But if you have an injury similar to Lamar Jackson's where it's your back, you take a shot, you're not feeling comfortable, these QBs, they're twisting and turning. That back is very, very, very important to them. But playoffs are on the line here. What is the right thing to do? When you could potentially hurt your team by forcing yourself to play, but at the same time, your mentality is, I got to be in there. I got to win this for my team. So where do you draw the line, Priest, as a player?
Yeah, I think this is where you draw the line. And I think that, by any means necessary, in order to give yourself and your team the best opportunity, you got to have the best players on the field. And, I remember when I was telling you about several times, Mark, when you go into that training room, man, there's a little room in there with some doctors. And, there's a line that lines up, and it doesn't matter how you feel, guys do whatever it takes in order to get out there on the field. And I think that will be the same with the Ravens as well. Even with the Steelers, even with Aaron Rodgers, he's going to
Yep.
have to, you know, pull that rabbit out of the hat, to make this big performance. Luckily with them being at home, it gives them the advantage. But I think the Ravens also, this is going to be an incredible rival game. And so I know that the Pittsburgh Steelers has always been a tough team to beat at home, but the Ravens, it's too much that's on the line for the Ravens, and they've got to get this victory.
Okay, now let's flip the coin here to the Steelers side. The impact of no DK Metcalf. Everybody obviously knows that situation. He got in an altercation with a fan, and he was suspended for 2 games. And they lost to the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, but a very bad Cleveland Browns team. So they're coming off a loss here. But this is where the experience of an Aaron Rodgers needs to step up. But how impactful is not having DK Metcalf there for Aaron in a moment like this?
Yeah, it's a big blow to the team, very costly. You've got to have a talent like that gives you the ability to kind of separate the game when it comes to the passing and the receiving. But we talk about Aaron Rodgers. There's one thing that I know. He's got that attitude that it's I can get it done, and he's one of those guys that lives by his arm, and so he can make it happen with some very quick throws. Has a very quick release. I think what we saw obviously previously in this last week is that when it showed up, when he had over 6 plays in order to get into the end zone, they couldn't get the points, they couldn't get the score.
Mhm.
And so I think if
Right.
you give Aaron that opportunity again, I think he gets the touchdown. So you can't put him in a situation where his back is against the wall and he has no way out, man. I think the Ravens are going to have to control Aaron, because I think he's going to come out definitely on fire the first 2 quarters.
Okay. Who's going to have more touchdowns? Is Aaron Rodgers going to throw for more touchdowns than Derrick Henry is going to run for touchdowns? Who you got?
Yeah, if the Steelers are going to be in any position to win this game, Aaron Rodgers is going to have to be throwing touchdowns, and it would be more than what Derrick Henry would run. I think that they're going to game plan. Obviously, you let a guy like that, get downfield and get going. It's going to be very hard to stop Derrick Henry. I think the Steelers come in with a game plan to be able to stop him.
Gotcha. And the question of all questions, who you got in this game? Who you got? Who wins this? Who's going on to the playoffs in 2026?
Well, come on. I have to tell you this. I spent 4 years in Maryland, and I've got a
It's
little
true
history with the
story. True
Baltimore
story.
Ravens. Yeah. So, that rivalry has always been a tough one. I couldn't wait till a Sunday night or a Sunday afternoon to play the Steelers. I've always gotten up to, play that game. But, I'm going Ravens. I'm going Ravens against the Steelers. It goes back to that rivalry. The thing that I can tell you that I always remember about the Pittsburgh Steelers, regardless if you're in their stadium or you're at home, for some reason, man, that doggone Steeler towel was just waving in the air. And it almost seemed like there's always more Steeler fans in the stadium because of that yellow towel. But I think this is an opportunity for the Ravens to kind of recover, not only from last year's debacle, in the playoffs, but give them an opportunity to come back this season and give the fans of the Ravens, man, something to be excited about and to root for.
Okay, so you got the Ravens and down with the terrible towel. And I guess one more question. If you got the Ravens winning, is this the end of Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh? Do you think they move on if they lose this game?
No, I don't think they move on. I think there's still some years underneath his belt. He's had an incredible run, obviously, as a head coach, and done some incredible things with that organization, with the Steelers. But I think he'll stay, and I think they'll give him an opportunity to stick with him.
Okay. All right. All right, let's get to the other game. This is the other important game in the NFC. Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be at home against the Carolina Panthers. This will be a Saturday afternoon match. The Bucs, Priest, are 1-7 in their last 8 games, including 1-3 in their last 4 home games. Now the Panthers are 4-4 in their last 8 games, and they're 2-2 in their last 4 road games. So they're 500 across the board. But boy, those Bucs, beautiful start to the season. I'm thinking back, there was MVP chatter around Baker Mayfield earlier on in the season, and they've just fallen off a cliff. What happened to Baker Mayfield? I mean, he got his receivers back. That's the thing. All of his receivers were injured at the beginning of the year. Now he has all the pieces back, and things have gotten worse. What do you think's been going on there in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that pressure, with the Buccaneers and being in that position, I mean, I think there's a lot expected from Baker. But for him to be able to get his team into the playoffs, man, and what he's been able to get into this position is kind of phenomenal. I mean, I know the Bucs are favored, but it's an anomaly, man, when you try to think about how to put Baker Mayfield into a box and try to describe him as a quarterback, man. Yeah,
Right.
he can beat you when you don't think you're on your best day. He can beat you, and then you can be playing your best ball, man, and defeat him. So it's one of those things where you're not sure what you're gonna get, man. It's like a what cereal can we say? That's kind of like a Baker Mayfield's, where you don't know what you're gonna get inside the box. You know what I mean? Yeah,
One that has a big question mark on it. Yeah, right. It's a mystery box. He's the mystery flavor, right?
yeah,
You
man.
don't know. You just don't know. That's true. And this is kind of how it ended for him in Cleveland too, which is interesting. He was doing so well. He got Cleveland all hyped up. He started winning them games, turned the franchise around, and it just kind of petered out. And I don't like to see it because I root for Baker, but to go 1-7 in your last 8 games and still have a chance to get into the playoffs. This is the craziest thing of all, though, Priest. If they are to win this game and they do make the playoffs, they go in with a less than 500 record. I mean,
Yeah, I
8
know we
and
talked
9,
about.
and you're in the playoffs. Come on, man. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, we talked about it's never ordinary on
That's right.
Bet365 yet, but hey, take your butt down to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and look at their season. Boy, it was nothing ordinary about this season with those guys, And then
Yeah,
of
no
course
doubt about
Baker
it.
played through so many injuries, man, and not only him, but even I think just the team was consumed with different injuries. And
Yeah.
hats off to those guys to scrap back into it and hang on and give themselves an opportunity to get in the playoffs.
Well, speaking of scrapping, you scrap all those previous numbers and records, and it comes down to just this one game, and they get it at home, which is a huge advantage. And this Carolina Panther team has been interesting too. They're trending in a different direction than the Bucs. But if they're going to get it done on the road against Tampa Bay, who's the big X factor here? Who's got to step up? Who's got to be the one to put it over the top for them?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's incredible question because the Panthers' inability, man, to close out the division when they've had the opportunity to.
Hmm.
I don't think they have an X factor. I think with Baker Mayfield coming in with his team and knowing that their back is against the wall, I can't pick a guy. I don't see the Panthers, getting a W. I don't see it happening. They haven't been able to close out. And I think the Buccaneers, I think the way they've scrapped back, that like kind of what we talked about, and fighting through these injuries, which both teams have
Hmm.
had, but I think there's more of a storyline, to the Bucs, getting this W.
Okay, so you've got the Bucs. I'll go ahead and make some picks for both games. I think, oh man, my gut tells me the Ravens are going to win, but my head tells me the Steelers are going to get this done at home with the experience of Aaron Rodgers. I think Lamar Jackson, playing or not, maybe he gets injured again. The Steelers are obviously going to zero in on Derrick Henry and shut that down. I think the Aaron Rodgers experience pays off here. I think the Steelers are going to squeak this out somehow, and they're going to make it into the playoffs. As for the Bucs Panthers, I think Baker's going to shoot himself in the foot. I'm feeling like a pick six late to give the Panthers the win, and they get in, and it's no bueno for the Bucs. So I'm gonna go opposite you. This is it again, Priest. Now last time I went opposite you all games, I got all 3 correct. So
Yeah.
let's see if you reverse the curse here and you get these 2 right.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
We'll
This is gonna
see.
be an incredible weekend.
But it's going to be a fun weekend, and these 2 games are going to be really, really, really awesome. And then obviously when we come back on the home stretch, we'll talk about it, and we'll make all of our picks for the playoffs. But Priest, always a pleasure. Happy New Year. 2026 is here, and we're bringing our very special guest in to start off the new year. This is your former teammate, your former roommate, and his name is so good they had to use it twice. Rob Robertson joining us right here on the home stretch.
Hey, do you have a gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. Or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 21 plus only, 18 plus in Kentucky. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, and select parishes in Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. $10 minimum deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only.
All right, Priest, you know what time it is. It's super special secret guest time. That's right. And this man's name, he goes by Rob, and it's so good he had to have it twice. It's Rob Robertson.
That's right.
Look, I don't want to tee this up too much because I know you two happen to be roommates. So I'm gonna let you, Priest, give a special introduction for this guy.
Yeah, but you know what? It's pretty exciting, everybody that's on this show, the home stretch. But I have a very, very, very special guest. This is a buddy of mine that goes back. It kind of dates me right now. It's going to tell my age of 52. But this is my buddy, Rob. He actually was my teammate in the Baltimore Ravens. And so Rob has a very impactful story that we're going to jump into. There's a number of things that he's been doing. He's also written his own book as well. But I just want to introduce to everyone, Rob Robertson. What's up, Rob?
There we go.
What's
there we
up,
go.
Priest, man? How you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm doing good.
Hey, you smiling, you looking good. You showing them pearly whites.
Yeah,
So what's
ask him
going
how
on with you, man?
ask him how he has those. He's telling me to mix baking soda with some other magic potion and scrub around. I'm like, come on now.
Mark, that guy always smiling now. He
I
gonna
know.
Smile.
It's the best smile in the biz.
Yeah, so we're in here,
Yes,
Rob.
sir.
So, Rob, let me introduce you, man. This is my co-host, Mark Seaman. My buddy is out of New York, man. We've been having some fun with the podcast. I know you and I had talked also earlier a few weeks ago, and definitely wanted to get you on. Just wanted to find out where you at, what you got going on, and then also, like I mentioned, man, you've written a book, and we're gonna jump into all of that, but we're gonna take it slow, because we got time to talk. So, Rob, this is Mark, man, my co-host.
Yeah, it's
Mark, pleasure to meet
It's
you, man.
pla-
Any friend of Priest is a friend of mine. I know you got to be a good man. So I value this man. He taught me a lot of lessons and mentorship as I was coming up in the league, and has never changed. Been a brother of mine. Met my grandmother. We'll talk about that later. But man, yeah, just a great human being.
That's awesome, and I couldn't agree with you more. And it's a pleasure to meet you too, Rob. And we're excited to have you on here. And we like to start our chats by turning on the Wayback Machine, and learning a little bit about you and where you came from, your childhood and stuff. Born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And what was cooking there during your childhood in Baton Rouge? What was going on? What were the kids into? What were you into? Where was your head at?
Man, survival. That's what I was into. Unfortunately, man, my story, I lost my mother at the tender age of 10 years old, and my grandmother raised me. And so
Okay.
when I moved, I was born in Baton Rouge, but when I moved back after my mother passed, my grandmother raised me. She put me in the first school, like close to her house. And it was different, just to say the least. Coming from Houston, being a Texas boy. So, Priest, I got a little Texas in me, man, and then moving back to Louisiana, it was just trying to adapt to the environment. And so it was some tough sledding, but, I had a great Pop Warner coach. I always say God activated some angels around me and my grandmother and my family, and made it, meaningful. But I always say this, Mark, either you're running from something or you're running to something. I was trying to run out of the situation I was in just to make a better life for my family, for my grandmother.
Gotcha. And yeah, that's heavy, and I'm sorry for your loss at such a young age. It obviously puts you in a different mindset. It builds a unique environment around you, unlike the other kids that were around you. But maybe things happen for a reason. And it seemed like it got your head in a certain direction, and you knew you needed to get out there and do better. So.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. And I don't want to make the show Debbie Downer. Trust me, man. I learned that it's in those low light moments that create the highlight reel. And I've had some low lights, trust me, plenty of them.
Okay.
But man, when I think back and reflect on my childhood, it made me into the man I am today. Those lowlights pushed me to want to do something bigger and better for my life, which ended up having a chance to play my childhood dream in professional football, which is where I met Priest. And I just look back and reflect on that, man. I got some many memories and some some highlight stories to share as well.
Well, let's dig in there, roommates. Let's go. Let's talk about it. Was this a top bunk, bottom bunk situation? Were you guys isolated? Like, what was your first impression of Priest Holmes when you met him?
So, man, it's funny. Priest does not know this, and this is fresh off. Hey, this is hot off the press. When I first, when you first get to a place and you look at all the running backs in the room, you're like, okay, you measure yourself up, and you like, I could be him. I could be him. Like, and when I first saw Priest, Priest was a tailback. I played fullback, and I'm, at first I'm thinking I'm looking at all the guys in. And I'm like, okay, I think I could get this guy. But then I seen Priest go run a route, and then he did so. I was like, man, he pretty damn good. So I said, I got to be on my stuff. And then we just hit it off. One of the things that Priest did, after a drill or after a play, he would come to me, hey man, maybe you should do this, or did you think about that? And it was always like in my ear about fine tuning some things. And we laugh about this to this day. I remember one day I came off my stem to go out on a route. Mark, I slipped, went out on a route, did my juke. I was running an option route, slipped again. Then the ball was thrown to me, and I slipped again. And I came back and said, damn, ROB, what you doing, man? You on ice skates? And we cracked up about that.
Yeah, Mark, he was on them skates, man. I said, damn,
Yeah,
Rob, what
yeah.
you doing? Ice skating out here? You got to keep your feet, man. Yeah, that was a
Hilarious.
good
Hey,
one.
Mark, so I don't know if he told you this, but we nicknamed, well, I know me and my family, we nicknamed Priest Sweet Feet. That was
Sweet
his
feet.
nickname,
All right.
Sweet Feet.
Priest and I were talking about some nicknames before. Some pseudonyms that are like other stuff he used out there. Maybe it was going to a restaurant or nicknames people, friends, family gave him. But I haven't heard that one yet. Sweet feet. Add it to the list, Priest.
Hey,
Add it to
Priest
the
had some
list.
sweet feet. Yeah, he had some sweet feet, and he can get in and out. So, yeah, hey, that's Sweet Feet Priest.
I love that. Sweet free Priest. And Priest, what vice versa. What was your first impressions of Rob when he came in onto the scene? And did you look at him as competition, or did you feel pretty secure in your position and you're like, let's see how this guy can help me or we can help each other? Like what was your mindset when you met Rob?
Yeah, so we had a little bit of a similar story, meaning that when we came in, we knew we was gonna have to get that grunt work in, And so when Rob came in, I didn't see him as being someone I had competition with. I was looking for someone to take on some of this number one defense that was building up to it, Ray Lewis and the guys on that side of the ball. So
Sure.
I already knew how many times I was gonna get hit during practice, you know what I mean, where the guys could just tee off on me. But then when I got a chance to have Rob come in, I say, oh man, we got a tandem right now. So Rob had that attitude to where he says, you know what, man, I'm gonna put this helmet on him. You know what I mean? So, it made it a lot easier for us to be teammates. And I just gravitated to him immediately. And then of course, when I knew he wasn't afraid to say the same that I was thinking. So most rookies that come in, they're probably going to tiptoe around the defense. They're probably not going to hit them directly straight on. They're probably going to brother law them and maybe not go as hard against them. But with Rob being in the backfield, man, he said, let's just go after him. And so that was the attitude that Rob had. So that was right up my alley right there.
Hey, I told him, hey, it was either me or them, and it wasn't gonna be me. And so at the end of
Nice.
the day, like I knew I had a chip on my shoulder, honestly, and these guys, it's funny how we evolve and refine, and people know my story now through the book, but they didn't know my story. I didn't share that then. I had a lot of that stuff, pent up and deep in my heart, but I knew I wanted to make a better life for my grandmother.
Mhm.
And so, Mark, you had asked a question earlier about how do we become roommates, and I knew that we had something special, or I had an opportunity to do something special because our coach was Al Levan. He was our running backs coach. And when he came to us and said, hey, he's renting out he had a townhouse. Did we want to rent it? I'm like, well, he ain't asking us to rent it if we ain't make the team. You know what I'm saying? So recently, we both were like, hey, like, let's be roommates. And I think, I can't remember who had the master. I think Priest might have had it. I can't remember, but it was a special moment for me. learning from Priest and just watching how he approached the game. Obviously, he was in the league a year before I was. And one of the things I always tell people, anytime I speak or any chance I get, I want to give this man his flowers because we have our Mondays, you have film, Tuesdays you're off, you get paid on Mondays, Tuesdays you're off. And me, little old me, what I wanted to do was go to the mall when I got that check. And Priest was so disciplined. Mark, I'd never seen a guy that was in his playbook reading something that was like building his mind. He would read the Bible. Literally, I was like, man, I'm literally standing with a priest. Like this dude was like not doing nothing. And I would come home and he was like, and all I hear him, he would have that smile on his face. And he would say, spend it, Rob, spend it. And I'm like, what? He's like, bro, one day he just pulled me aside. He said, man, listen, you got to save your money. And he's like, I know you want to go out, want to do things, but you should save your money. You just never know what you never know. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget that. And so when I did go to the mall after that, I just keep my bags in the trunk. I ain't bring them in the house because I ain't want to hear his mouth. But he really embellished in me just a discipline about saving and just even how we approach family, because I remember him saying, man, if you let people will spend your money. And so I learned that from Priest, man. I really did.
Just imagine, man. I'm his roommate. Every Monday when we get paid, Monday and Tuesday, I see him showing up with bags from the mall. And it went on for weeks after weeks after weeks after weeks. And I say, man, Rob, spend it, Rob. You know what I mean? Because it got to the point where he was gonna do it regardless. And so it was something that I didn't realize at that time, man, how that was gonna make a big impact on Rob. But it was definitely just my way of letting him know, man, that there's so many circumstances that can happen in the league, especially like the way that I got my opportunity to start in the NFL. It came off of someone else getting injured, which opened up that opportunity for me with Eric Rett and Jay Graham. So, I used to make sure I at least let them know, man, definitely take care of that money, man. Put it to the side,
Well, look, Priest, I and Rob, I'll tell you this right now. I know that feeling, you hiding those bags in the trunk, because, every once in a while I order something off the internet, package shows up at home, and I'm like, I gotta wait for my wife to take a shower before I get this thing in the house. And it'll be something so silly. It'll be like a movie or like a new toothbrush or whatever it is. I'm just like, I can't let her know I got this. So
he was in my ear, but I tell you, that discipline, I still have it to this day as it relates to just making sure you're being a good steward of your finances, doing the right thing. Is it a need or is it a want?
Right.
And Priest was one guy that I actually watched. Like he had like opportunities, deals with I would think about some of the local dealerships, and he wouldn't go and buy a car unless he had to. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things where like, man, listen, do you need it or do you want it? And so I just really want to, again, thank my brother for that.
That's awesome. And yes, definitely foreshadowing too, because, and we'll get into it with what you do now in life, but your time in the NFL and having that experience and having Priest at your side there, it sounds like that was your biggest takeaway. So what was your favorite moment outside of that? Like your experience, was it a play or a moment in the locker room where you just felt some sort of magic and you're like, man, this is it. I made it. This is so cool.
Man, that's a great question. I built relationships with all the guys. Obviously Priest being my roommate was special. We talk about 52 all the time, being arguably the greatest linebacker of all time. And, we had to go and get after it with him. You know what I mean? And the reality was, people knew you there are certain things you couldn't hit him certain ways because that was our bread and butter. I learned a lot from Ray. The reality was my locker was right next to Ray. So, I was roommates with Priest, and then my locker was next to Ray Lewis. And so I was able to absorb all of that mentorship and how he approached the game and what he looked for. And man, you talk about, that guy make you want to run through a freaking wall. And so it was just like really cool to see how his mentality was on the defensive side of the ball. And I knew I had to bring that same mentality on the offensive side of the ball. And Priest can attest to this. We had arguably the biggest offensive lineman in NFL history and they love to fight. So we knew that if we got into a fight, we knew we had big, Jeff Blackshear and big Zeus and big Jonathan Ogden. All them boys was
Jonathan
ready to go.
Ogden,
Like
that's
all
right.
you had to do was say the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Priest talks about it a lot on the pod, that get back, man. So, that's cool. You guys had them in your corner for sure. I love it.
Hey, I gotta say this, Mark. Now,
Yeah.
and Priest know this. I don't know if y'all talked about this, but maybe y'all should have a segment called A-Gap Conversations, because Priest, you got to have a mentality, and you got to have a mindset, and it's a business decision to run through that A-Gap.
That's right.
And if you play running back or linebacker, you know what that A-gap is. And some people don't want to go in that A-gap.
Yeah, some people like to tiptoe. Some people like to get in there and stick their cleat out there and look both ways before they go in there. Or you got to get to the point where you just got to trust your linemen, and you got to depend on the way that the play develops is what I'm trying to say. And so it'll give you that opportunity. But I can tell you what, man, there's been times where I've ran through that A-gap and I was anticipating a safety coming down and hitting me. And so I ran through that A-gap, head down, ready to hit some collision, and with nothing on the other side but the grass. You know what I mean? It's just like I should have kept my head up. But you learn very quickly, how to develop how you go through that A-gap, man. So I like what you're talking about, Rob.
Hey, and Mark, I'm gonna go back to a question you asked. I'll say one of the highlights for me may be different. It wasn't a play. It wasn't someone I met. Every chance I get, man, I want to honor the lady, because without her, it wouldn't be any me. And that's my grandmother, Alberta Watson. She's gone on in heaven. Priest has met her. She came and she cooked, and Priest has even come to my hometown, Louisiana, when we've celebrated her for a birthday. But man, our first game was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Priest and I took a picture, and we had a friend, a teammate, Tyrus McLeod, let me use his big Suburban, because my family had come in town. And the highlight of my career was taking my grandmother to the White House, man, and getting her out of Tyrus's Suburban and letting her see the White House. Back then, you can get really close.
Yeah.
And she got out of the car and she looked with tears in her eyes and said, "My God, I thought I'd never see this in a million years." And man, that look on her face made me feel like I had, like I owned the world, because I was able to show her and provide that experience for her. That was my highlight of my NFL career.
That's so cool. What a great memory to have, and I'm glad you got that. So let's celebrate your grandma a bit here. What was she bringing to the table? No nonsense. Did she have she have you in check? Like, what was a day in the life with grandma like?
Man, love.
Okay.
She taught me love, integrity. Listen, she was not afraid to work. The lady was just so skilled and resourceful, and she was the matriarch of our family, and she just wanted everyone to be happy. And it didn't matter who you were in my family, everyone has lived in Madeira's house. And I share this, man, again, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I remember when my mom passed and she added a room onto her house just for me. And the builder built the room incorrectly. When it rained, it ain't supposed to rain inside the room. Well, when it rained, man, water would come down my walls. And I was like, man. And, we didn't have no air ducts going in there, so I had to keep the door open to get air and heat. But, man, I didn't want to complain, because she did that just for me. And so that's what I mean when I say you either running from something or to something. I was running from that situation because I wanted to make it better for her. And so, again, as I'm thinking through this, like, Priest helping me mindset, save, I was able to pay her house off and provide for her in terms of like, hey, you don't have to have a mortgage payment anymore, and do some things for her. So in her latter days, man, that's what the NFL did for me. And I think it's all because of those angels that lined up. Me meeting Priest, me meeting Ray, me meeting, Priest mentioned Eric Rhett. Eric Rhett was the mouth of the South that talked.
That's right.
And you remember Rhett, Priest. I mean, he'll talk you up, so you got to go in there and make some stuff happen. And all of that, man, all the ingredients count for me. And I'm just very grateful that, how the alignment, formulated for me in during that time.
Priest, this question's for you too. And Rob, it always blows me away that just in school, whether it's high school, even in college, they don't teach financial classes to people. They don't put time aside to say, here's how money works. Here's how this is how you're going to set yourself up in the future so you can exist and live. And that just doesn't happen. And there are the people that, go to the mall every weekend, go, I got a check. I'm just because you just think the checks are just keep coming. And
Yeah,
then, unless you have someone walk in your life like you had with Priest, but why do you think that is? Like, did the NFL have things like that? Like you joined up with the team. Did they have like special classes for you guys on the side? Or, hey, you have this meeting and then also today you're going to learn about financial services, like stuff like that? Did they have
yeah.
that for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
Mark. So, in terms of did they have financial classes? Absolutely, they did. The union also has developed over the past 20 years, and they've been more in front of the guys with information and opportunities for speakers to
Mhm.
come in. It also is something that starts more within your household. So I think at an early point of how, each of these athletes are raised and the impact of their immediate family, that's where that teaching is. And then some players, I think they go off to college and they have the foresight to be able to say, hey, I want to play in the league one day. Maybe this is something I need to know more information about. I think that with Rob, with him being in that industry, that financial industry, I think he can also speak from his experience, not only as a former player, but especially with what he does from day to day now. So, Rob, what do you think, man, when it comes to that in terms of what guys are being exposed to when they get into the league as far as their financial wealth?
Man, you're absolutely right. And one of the things, Mark, that Priest didn't say, we both served in the NFLPA Players Association. Priest was the chairman of the former player advisory board, and then I succeeded Priest as the chairman of the advisory board. So we've seen, every element from playing to, after football, where the NFL does provide access. They do bring in, subject matter experts. I call them SMEs that the financial services and so on and so forth. Here's the caveat, man. Sometimes you don't know who to trust. Back when we were
Mhm.
playing, and this is no slap or shade to any agents out there, they were just doing their job. But most agents would have their guys who they trusted, right? Their
Right.
trusted advisors. And sometimes those relationships, they were either really good or they were really bad. And so now these guys are so savvy. And with AI, you can kind of go look and train yourself and look at what's going on. I just would say for me, now go back to my grandmother. When I paid her house off, that resulted in me having to get her credit run, and we got the sense to look at her credit score and her credit. And man, guys, I never forget. I saw this charge on her credit, and it was like for $300, and it was like the high credit, and the balance was never going down. And I asked her, I said, "What is that?" And she remembered when I was in high school, man, I needed money to get my girlfriend a gift and I ain't have no money. And she went and borrowed that money at 29%
Oh,
interest.
wow. Yeah.
And she was still paying on that when I was in the league. And that's when I'm like, no, no, no. And I went to that. I'll never forget. I said, you would do this to an elderly person? And that's for me was like, I said, you know what? I got to do something about that. So obviously paid that off, and me getting in financial services is not just something, it's meaningful because the guys that ask me, the guys that, want to, have conversation, I try to make it, I'm non-threatening, meaning I don't want anything from you. I just want to educate, inform with impact. So I've worked at some large financial institutions. And one of the biggest meaningful moments for me in this space was, I'll never forget, we had the rookies, and I had a chance to meet with the rookies. And to all my Ravens flock, please know, charges to my head, not my heart. I was just trying to help. I was in Pittsburgh when I did this, and we had $1 million cash. We were in the boardroom, and we had the rookies in the room, and we asked the question, like, hey, what would you do? Like when you were a rookie, where do you want to where does deploy this money? People, oh, I need some swag, I need some bling. Okay, move that money off the table.
Uh-huh.
What else you need? Oh, I gotta get me a whip. I gotta get a car. Move that money off the table. What else? Oh, I gotta do X, Y, my clothes and my blah blah. Move that money. So when we moved the money off the table, guys, we had like 300 grand, and they hadn't even bought a house yet.
Mhm.
And that was an eye opener for guys to say, hey, you know what? Let me prioritize what I'm doing with my money and spending my money. Now, granted, these guys are making a lot more money than when we came out, Priest.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, the functionality and the method and making sure that they're educated, making sure that they are informed, and making sure it's impactful to me is meaningful. And I think the NFL and the NFLPA does have programs. I would challenge any guys out there listening, to take advantage of that because as Priest once told me, if you let them, people will spend your money.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, how many years has it been, post playing career? You've been working in this, financial service environment. This, you had 20. You must be about 25 years now. How? What are we looking at?
Yeah. Yeah, you got good math, Mark. And so, like I'll say this to you: the meaningful part of this that we didn't talk about was my exit from the NFL. When you leave, you find out who your true friends are,
Yeah.
and that's what
Yes.
I'll say. And
Hmm.
then from day one, man, I'll never forget this. I never told this guy. Maybe I did. I remember when I got Ozzy called me to the office and, hey man, you've done a lot of great things in the community, but we're gonna have to let you go. And Ozzy asked me, how do you feel about that? And man, I'm at my age now. I teased Ozzy. I saw him at one of the facilities. I'm like, man, that question, like, what did you want me to say? Like, how do you think I felt about it? That was a moment where I had to pivot, man. I thought I was gonna still play. Priest knows this. Our running backs coach Al Levan went to Kansas City. Al called me and was like, "Hey man, when you get healed, we're gonna bring you in." He wanted to bring me into Kansas City. Well, he delivered on what he said he was, but my doctor's record said that I was a high risk of re-injury.
Mhm.
When they saw that, I knew no other team was going to hire me at all. So I had to figure it out. And from the day that I left and I was out of the league, my brother here always called, checked on me. RB, what's up? And so we've always had this brotherhood relationship and just stayed the course, man. And so I just really appreciate that. And I tell that to all guys out there. You go to the league with this dream that, hey, you're gonna play 10 years, you're gonna play 12 years, you're gonna play whatever it is, but sometimes you gotta pivot. NFL for some people stands for not for long, right?
Right.
And you gotta pivot. And so for me, I'm just very grateful that I was able to pivot into financial services. And I took every single ounce of that mentorship, that motivation, that resilience, that teamwork, that Priest and Ray that I learned sitting next to Ray. Like I took that into corporate America. And listen, man, life hadn't been just roses, but I would tell you, I feel like made a great life for myself and my family. And I'm very passionate on, doing what's right in the community, being of service, being a servant leader. And listen, man, it's been great. I love what I do. And people always ask me, Mark, what do you do for a living? I help make dreams come true. What do you
Oh,
mean?
love that.
For me, it's the single biggest investment that people are going to make. That's home ownership. And so I'm
Yeah.
in financial services. I help with that. And it's really replenishing and restoring for me.
Yeah, and it's only getting harder and harder, man. Getting a house now for
Oh, yeah.
kids these days. Whew, man, I mean, they're walking out of college with like $100,000 in debt, and it's just like it's wild. Yeah, it's wild times right now. Priest, give me your best Rob Robertson story right now. What's your favorite moment? Is there something out there that you've never told
Oh,
him
man,
that
you
now
about
you
to
want to
make me,
tell him?
I already know where he's going with this.
Yeah.
Well,
Is
no,
there?
there's a lot of stories I could tell, but there's one in particular. You know how you always got that one teammate, man, that swears that they can cook some barbecue or they can burn on the pit, right? Um,
Okay.
Rob actually happens to be one of these individuals, right? And so
Okay.
one of the things that I learned very quickly, we go back to the very beginning when we talked about, what was one of the first impressions about having him as a roommate. Man, when I found out that Rob could cook, I said, oh yeah, he got to be my roommate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's go.
And so Rob, one of the things that he would do, man, every week it seemed like he was gonna throw something on the grill, man. And so my son at that time, DeAndre, my oldest son, was there living with us. And so it was one of those things, man. Rob would put some meat on the grill, and then Rob, man, what DeAndre say, man, when you put that meat on the grill?
Uncle Rob, can I have some of that bull?
So DeAndre was young, man. He was just getting ready to start first grade, man. And so at that time, that was that many, many, many years ago. But yeah, man, he would always say that meat, man, that barbecue meat. He'd always say, Rob, man, you gonna put some bull on there? You gonna put some
Yeah,
bull
put
on
the
there?
bull. Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. And boy, he would clean his plate too. So he ate good. We had a lot of fun during those days, and those are some grand memories, I tell you.
That's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. Um, well, Priest, I don't want to steal your question here, but I love when you ask it, about what brings you happiness at this point, and I don't want to put an answer in your mouth, Rob, but having people, or at least helping people figure out financial situation must feel great. And correct me if I'm wrong, but do you still doing the big brother, big sister stuff, man? Are you? Because I know I've never done it myself. I've always wanted to. But those type of programs, especially where I live here in New York City, because New York City has its own challenges every day. I moved here with no money and I was trying to find a dollar slice of pizza every day. But I know that for youth here and jumping over those hurdles or finding your Priest Holmes to be hanging with and learning from is very important. So, is that just another thing that's bringing you happiness these days?
Absolutely, man. I mean, this brings me happiness. The fact that I can sit here on the home stretch with my brother, with you, Mark, meeting, and talking, just having good dialogue brings me happiness. The late, great Dr. Martin Luther King once quoted, he said that everybody can't be famous, but everybody can be great because greatness is determined by service.
Hmm.
I've learned over the years that it's not about these iPhones and iPads because everybody has them. And what we typically do is everybody wants to post their highlights.
Hmm.
And as I said at the outset, it's in those low light moments that create the highlight reel. That low light moment of me leaving Baltimore, man, that hurt. And not only did I leave, them boys not only went to the Super Bowl, they won it. And you talk about was a tough year. That was a tough year for me. But I go back to all of that and I reflect on the happiness. You asked me earlier about my book, and I was able to write a book and author a book out of obedience, because I wanted to be obedient to what God had planted in me to do. And that book has put me in places and spaces that I never thought I'd be in. Last Friday, guys, yours truly delivered the commencement speech at North Carolina Central University. And I sat in that seat and looked in that crowd to all of those young leaders. And I said, man, I just prayed, thank you for trusting me with the responsibility to just give them a word as they embark upon that intersection from college to adulthood and life. And that was me doing that. And a lot of that stuff was embarked upon from mentors like Priest and others. And so, man, I that happiness makes me happy. And so, one thing that I want to say before we leave this show today, Mark, and you got to help me. I don't know how we do it.
Okay.
My brother, if I can write a chapter, I need somebody out there that can hear me. He has got to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, let's
I don't
do it.
understand what's going
Yes.
on. We got to fix this, man. Like seriously.
Yeah, we're
We
working on it.
gotta fix it. I want to talk about it, and I want to be a billboard about it. Something has to happen immediately. That was the old comedian said that we need to fix that right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when we did our first live show, we kind of ended it with that. I was like, well, what do we got to do? We were sitting next to Will Shields and
Yes,
Neil
sir.
Smith. And I just looked at them both and I said, yo, what do we got to do? Get Priest in the Hall of Fame now. Come on. What do we got to do?
So,
And
so Mark, you asked me what brings me happiness. I shared, yeah, I did some things, but that would make me happy if the NFL gods or whoever we need to talk to can
yeah,
figure that out, because the brother's well deserving. You look at statistically, he's deserving
sure.
on and off the field.
Hmm.
Hey, listen, I said it. I'm sticking to it.
Well,
Yeah.
look, he's in your friendship Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about that, right? He's locked in there. Yeah, first ballot, first
Absolutely. Hey,
ballot.
hey, we're friends, but I think he'd rather that gold jacket.
Yeah. Oh, trade Priest, would you trade your friendship with Rob for Kojak?
No, I'm just telling the truth, man. Listen, we all.
Yeah.
I just believe in. At the end of the day, I heard somebody say this. Hey, did that guy start? The guy passed away. Did that guy start the business, or did they start this thing he was thinking about doing? And they were like, no. And they's like, man, you mean to tell me he took that with him? I think that Priest is gonna live a long, happy life. Let me be clear,
Hmm.
but I want him to know why he's here, and he should not be getting in when he can barely walk on stage and give his speech. I truly believe like something needs to be done, and I'm just an advocate for it. Not just because we're roommates. The facts are the facts, and I'm anchoring everything to reality. And the reality is, go look at the stats. That's what I tell people. Go look at the stats of pre-Sweet Feet Holmes, and I think you'll see what I see and what I saw. That's all I'll say.
So, Priest, I'm going to say this, when you get in, which nickname are you going to go in as? Because you got about 20 of these. You're going to have to, what do you want to go
I
in?
think Sweet Feet sound good. I like
Sweet Feet's good.
Sweet feet. No, I appreciate that, Rob. Yeah, man. So, look, you talked about the commencement speech, right? You talked about your background in the financial industry. What are some things that I would think you would end out with in terms of telling some of the youth? I know there's an equation that you and I have talked about, and something that you kind of introduced me to. It was E plus R equals O, and we talk about,
Yes, this equation.
sharing some knowledge about life and how you can apply it. And I think something as simple as an equation like this, I think is something that needs to be heard and something I'd love for you to share.
Absolutely, man. So I tried to listen, you had a commencement. It's the largest graduating class in school history. It was the fall commencement. And, you want to give them something that, number one, is telling. I don't know if you guys remember Showtime at the Apollo. They had the Sandman on there.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
sure.
like, I got to be able to give them some protein or they're going to Sandman me off the stage, right? And so
Love it.
I told them, I said, hey, we have, I'm giving you some acronyms. I'm also giving you an equation. And all I'm asking you to do, the syllabus for today is just to actively listen. I said, and please give me for the rest of the time we're together, just actively listen and invest in yourself. And I talked about, a couple of things. One, I talked about, hey, the prefix para, Para. If you study that, it means to come alongside of. I'm not coming to tell you anything you don't already know. I'm coming alongside of you to help you, maybe activate something in your head to say, hey, you can do this. When I was young, my mother, I told my Mom, I can't do it. And she made me write that phrase, never say what you can't do, 1,000 times. And man, till my hand was cramping and hurting and crying. And she looked at me, she said, baby, never say what you can't do. So I wanted to leave that with them. Secondly, I talked about, hey, I'm coming alongside of them. Third, I talked about the 5 Ps of proper preparation prevents poor performance. They're prepared. They've worked hard. They've studied. They got their certificate, their diploma, and it's time to go. But then I left them with E plus R equals O, and that's what Priest and I have talked about. We've texted about, and that E is the event. Listen, events are going to happen in your life. Nobody can you can't control that, but you can control your R. That R is how do you control your response to the event. And that equals the O, which is the outcome. See, a lot of times, listen, I would have preferred to win the Super Bowl and stayed on the team with the Ravens. My event was, hey, I was cut. My event was I had to go back to school to get my degree. What was my response? Immediately, my response was the doom and gloom. I was pissed. I was upset. But it forced me to go back to get my degree. And now my outcome is I reflect 25 years later. And man, that was the best thing that could have happened to me because I have a family. I have, resources in terms of just the knowledge and the education of going back to for that. And I'm not knocking anyone because trust me, I would have preferred to play football. But I am very grateful that I'm in my right frame of mind. I didn't have any significant injuries that, prevented me from having my, quality of life. And I'm able to give back and really be, as I said, of service to others. And guys, that's what really this all means to me. So E plus R, I'll tell anybody listening, events are going to happen. Priest, I'm sure, man, if you reflect on some events in your life, you like, man,
I
right?
got several.
But plus your R, though. Your R, how did you respond to that event? I'm looking at your event. I'm going back to the Hall of Fame, guys. I'm sorry. I keep saying it. Hey, one could say, hey, it is a travesty that you're not in the Hall of Fame yet. But how are you responding to that? Are you in the doom and gloom pity party? You're doing what you do. You're out here smiling. You're sharing. You're on this podcast with Mark. You guys are doing some great things and bringing some great guests in. Equals your outcome. And I got to believe your outcome will be in the hall. You'll have that yellow jacket. And I tell people this all the time, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can't help the things that's going to happen to you. It's going to happen. The old saying, SHIT, it happens, right?
That's right.
It's copyright. It happens. But how do you respond to what happens? And so that equation has really been meaningful to me.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm finally, now I know what it means. I saw this over text and I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, man, well, E could be anything. I mean, R could be anything. O could be anything. I can make this up. But I'm glad you spelled it out there and shared that with us, Rob, because that's, I couldn't agree more, 1,000%. And I love how passionate you are about we're going to get Priest in the Hall of Fame. So I'm glad that we got another one backing it. And these numbers are growing, man. It's undeniable.
Yeah, man, that comes from I tell you, Dale Carnegie School of Hard Knocks. Dale says, there's a thing, how to win friends and influence people, and it goes. There's a golden book, Priest. I'm gonna send you a copy, man. It's a little bitty book that just talks about little things that just helps, little daily vitamins. But that E plus R equals O is big, man, and you can apply that to. I don't care who you are. It could be a young adult. It could be an adult. It could be a teacher. Whatever field you're in, E plus R equals O. And it's really cool equation to live by. That's my life equation.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
good.
All right. Rob Robertson, man. Hey, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the insight, all the motivation, all the positivity, sharing your story. I know, parts of people's lives aren't easy to share, but if you do and that can help somebody else, I think that's really important. So I appreciate you opening up about certain things. And my last question before you go here is, when you were bringing those bags in from going to the mall, was there ever a gift in there for Priest? Was he ever like,
Hey,
yo, where's my jam?
We had Christmas. I remember times that we shared a gift or two.
Yeah.
I remember his family came in town, and we were able to share a gift or two. But man, if Mark, if you don't mind, I do want to leave you with something
Yes,
real quick.
please do.
You guys. So it's funny. Priest and I, we both played on the offensive side of the ball. I played fullback. He played, tailback, and primarily he got the ball a lot. And so, when I reflect on just life, where we are in the holiday season, as we go into the new year, it hit me every single time we had to get in a huddle. Priest and I, or whoever was in the huddle at that time, 11 guys, right? And we break that huddle, they call a play, and it was our job to go execute that play. Well, did the play always work? Not every single time. Somebody missed an assignment. Somebody held on the play. Referee may throw a flag. We may have to go back. But isn't that the same thing in life, guys? Like in life, whether you're with your family, whether you guys huddle for your podcast, whatever it is, your job is to just keep moving the ball. And that's what I want to implore to people. Like in life, keep moving the ball. You may get a flag called on play. Somebody in the family may not do his or her job. You may not get the outcome you want from that play. It may be a negative play, right? But you still got 4 downs that you're trying to keep moving the ball to get first downs in life, with the ultimate goal is to score a touchdown. That touchdown could be a promotion, could be a marriage, could be a new kid coming, whatever that touchdown is for you. It could be. Now I'm going to quiz Priest on this right here. Priest, when we got between 20 yards and going in, we called that the what?
Red zone.
Red zone. Now, did that defense start to bow their back?
It started to bowl it quite a bit.
It gets tougher. And that's the same thing in life, man. When you're getting close to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, it's going to get tougher. And I just want to tell people, sometimes you may not score the touchdown. It's okay, Priest. You won games by a field goal, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I know there's another team called the Denver Broncos, and they're winning by field goals now.
Yeah, they're doing that right now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. And so I just tell people, man, kick the field goal, get the 3 points.
Yep.
Whatever that is. You may not have gotten what you wanted, but you got something, and you still can win in life, getting those, just those small wins. And so I just want to leave you with that, guys, because I was thinking about this thing, and me and Priest in the huddle, I tried every chance I was in, and I knew he was getting the ball. Hey, if I had to go block somebody, hey, man, follow me. I got it.
Yeah.
But if I missed that block, he gonna look at me like, man, what the heck? What's going on, man?
Well, let's see, man. Rob, you're talking about doing something in a winning fashion, man. And so I want to make sure that before we get off this podcast, man, here at the home stretch, that I get a chance to talk about your book real briefly, man. I know that we've been talking here and talking long, but persevering through purpose, man. Thank you for my copy, my brother.
Yes,
There
sir.
it
Thank you for
is.
my copy.
Nice.
And I know you
Yeah.
had an opportunity now, man, to put your first book out. Man, how does that feel, at the end of the day?
Priest, I feel uplifted, as I said, man. For me to be in spaces and places that I never thought I'd be is fulfilling. You guys all know the great Dickie V. Dickie V got my book and posted it on his Twitter or his X account, and he has like 1 million followers, and it's just been great, man. I'll be very honest with you, Priest. When you write a book as such, you worry about the disruption, how it's going to make my son or my daughter or my wife feel. But I can say the overarching theme has been really greatly received. This is my story. This is nobody else's story. This is mine. And I'm honored that you have the book, and I'm honored for many others. It's out there on Amazon. So anybody listening want to go pick up, it will make a great stocking stuffer for the holidays. So you go get a hard copy, you can get a paper copy, and it's on you can get it on your Kindle. So yeah, many other ways you can get it. But yeah, man, thank you for that. And as stated, I'm very fulfilled. I'm able to share my story regards to my mom and my grandmother, and just give honor to those who have been angels for me along the way. Even my cousin, who Priest, Big Dog Art.
That's right.
Who, in his life, man, he paused his teenage years to help pull me up, man. And man, I'm very grateful for that.
Good stuff. I love it.
I love it. Great way to close it out. And Rob, thank you so much for the time. And I don't know about you two, but you got me so motivated. I'm about to go run 10 miles, man. So I will see you guys on the other side.
That's
All
right.
But Rob, thanks for joining us on the home stretch, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, send us that alert of those 10 miles. We want you to prove that, Mark.
Oh, you
Don't
got
say
it,
We gotta
man.
see
You
that.
got it. Marathon runner, man. I can't mess around with that. 10 miles.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go. All right. Cheers, guys.
This has been a Playmaker production.